Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, where we debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in crossover battle simulations and reviewing their films and shows. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
In this episode, we will be reviewing the Inhumans 2-hour IMAX special for the new ABC show. Yeah,
Find out later as we review
I'm not sure how many people actually saw this. I don't think it's a lot. I know like it wasn't like a commercial failure because I read articles saying that like it wasn't like it's made enough money where, you know, they're going to continue the show and the show should be successful based on the numbers that they received in ticket sales for the IMAX screening. But we have thoughts about the show.
I'm wondering how many people are actually going to listen to this episode just due to the lack of interest in the Inhumans show.
Yeah.
It's not our fault. Don't punish our listening stats just because they didn't put out, you know, a quality show.
I didn't want to see it either, but I did.
That's right. I dragged you there.
But before we get into the review and our thoughts and everything, this is a pretty exciting news week, honestly.
Comparatively.
Yeah, yes. Comparatively for the like past few episodes, I think. You know, we got a new director, a new writer-director was announced for Suicide Squad 2. We got the X-Force film announced, and a director and writer is attached to that as well. Mm-hmm. We have some frontrunners for the Shazam film. Interesting
frontrunners,
yeah. Yeah, we have some like sort of controversial comments from Simon Kinberg. Just some developments and statements regarding X-Men Dark Phoenix in general that are kind of, you know, we want to talk about them. The Wonder Woman film was released on, you know, home video recently, and there was it looks like it was supposed to be like an end credits tag similar to like what was it called, Covenant for Batman v Superman.
Dominion.
What was it?
Dominion?
No, I don't think it was that.
No,
I totally forgot what the name of it was. It was
Communion.
Communion.
Yes,
that was it.
Just combine our two.
Yeah. It reminded me of that. So we'll talk about that. We got a first look at Misty Knight's bionic arm for his Luke Cage season 2, and we have our first look at Evangeline Lily as the Wasp. And then we're gonna wrap up the news by with talking about some new Titans casting, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Before we get into the news, though, as always, we have our trivia segment. I'd like to give a special congratulations to Adam Spees.
Again,
for getting last episode's trivia question correct. The question was, what were the first live-action television series for both DC and Marvel? And the correct answer was The Adventures of Superman. That came out in 1952. That was the correct answer for DC. That was the show that starred George Reeves. Yeah. And for Spider-Man, it was a little bit later. The first live-action show came out about 2 decades after Superman, and it was The Amazing Spider-Man.
It's very 70s.
Yeah, very 70s. I watched the pilot. It's really bad. Came out in 1977. There was a live-action Spider-Man that came out in the Electric Company. It was like a small skit. But it wasn't his own show.
It wasn't. Yeah, we were looking for like a live, like a self-titled series.
Exactly. So congrats again to Adam Spees.
Yeah, it wasn't a difficult question. A lot of people got it right, but Spees is one lucky bastard.
Yeah, he is. If you answer this trivia question correct, you may be eligible to win a Dynamic Duel. No prize. Why can I not speak right now?
You'll be in the running for one.
Yeah, because we select a random correct answer and award the no prize that way.
And again, if you're not familiar with the no prize, it's an award that Marvel used to give out a long time ago. It was just like an envelope. It was kind of a joke, but we do the same thing. Essentially, I drop a JPEG or a character on a JPEG for you, and it's pretty cool, I think.
It's all right. Okay, so this episode's trivia question is, one of the cast of the Inhuman royal family has also played a live-action DC superhero. Name the actor and their role. So submit your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us on those platforms by doing a search for Dynamic Duel Podcast, or you can email us the correct answer at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. And again, random person who gets it right gets that no prize.
Yeah, and we'll be giving a hint later on in the episode.
Yes.
At some point. You don't know when. you don't know when. Maybe
It's pretty consistent.
If you've been listening for a while, you'll know where it is.
Yeah.
But
all right, let's go ahead and get into the news.
Okay. So Gavin O'Connor has been announced as the Suicide Squad 2 writer officially, and possibly director. Although the way all the Hollywood trades are announcing this news, it seems like he pretty much has the job. So if you're not familiar with Gavin O'Connor, he's done films such as, well, most recently he did The Accountant with Ben Affleck, which I saw.
I didn't see it.
It was good. I liked it. I think that film suffered from a lot of like the Ben Affleck hate as well. But I liked it. I thought he did a really good job playing, like this autistic sort of assassin kind of guy.
Yeah. Did it have pretty good action?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. This is good news.
Did it feel David Ayery? Like, do you see
Accountant?
him? Do you see him able to pull off the same style that David Ayer did? Do we even want him to pull that same style off?
David Ayer for me is more of like a sort of gritty kind of like street style, I guess. And The Accountant did not have that. The Accountant, I'm trying to think of what I could compare it to. It's more along the lines of like, I don't know, like a Jason Bourne film.
Okay.
I'm sure Ben Affleck would love hearing that.
Like the first Jason Bourne film, or like the Paul Greengrass ones?
Not the same style as Paul Greengrass. There's no like shaky cam or anything like that.
Okay. Like the Doug Liman Bourne film, The Bourne Identity, the first one. Because that one was a lot less shaky cam.
Yeah, it was less shaky.
Less like color mixing.
But it was good. The Accountant was good. I haven't seen any of his other films, just looking at his credentials right here.
Well, what else has he done?
He's done Jane Got a Gun.
Nope.
With Natalie Portman. He did Warrior.
I heard that was really good.
I heard a lot of people liked that one.
Okay.
And then he did Miracle. I remember that came out like when I was in high school.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I like that one.
So yeah, I mean, to me, this is fantastic news. Not only because we have another project coming off the ground, but because it's Gavin O'Connor, and I think he's a pretty talented filmmaker and writer.
Yeah.
So
are you bummed that Mel Gibson didn't get it?
Am I? I didn't even think about that. I guess.
It was so long ago that those rumors came out.
Yeah. I'm sure it's been a while since he hasn't been in the running. But no, I guess not.
Yeah, I think this is a good fit.
Yeah, for sure.
Even better than that,
no,
is that Drew Goddard has been announced as the X-Force writer and director. Now, this is surprising news. This kind of came out of the blue because for the longest time, I thought Joe Carnahan was going to direct and write this movie. As a matter of fact, that was a news item from a couple months ago, was that Joe Carnahan was writing this movie alongside Ryan Reynolds, the X-Force movie. And that the other news that came out around the same time was that Drew Goddard was helping rewrite some scenes for Deadpool 2. I don't know what came out of that. Maybe Joe Carnahan wasn't able to produce something, or maybe Drew Goddard just picked up where Joe Carnahan left off.
Maybe just really impressed Fox.
Yeah, maybe he impressed Fox with his Deadpool 2 writing. But either way, he's an amazing guy. I love almost every single thing that he's done.
I love Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, Cabin in the Woods is one of my favorite horror films. He wrote,
if not my favorite horror film. I don't know. I just saw it, so that was pretty good.
It was pretty good. I liked it. But Goddard wrote Cloverfield, Cabin in the Woods, World War Z. He wrote The Martian, which I absolutely adored. He was the showrunner on the first season of Daredevil, which I freaking loved.
Yeah.
He wrote an episode of The Defenders and produced it. He's done a lot of quality work. So he's one of the top like names in the fanboy biz right now.
Yeah, and you absolutely want someone who wrote part of Deadpool, just being familiar with that kind of zany kind of humor and stuff like that, to be involved in this spin-off film, I guess.
Yeah, so you get those through lines between the franchises.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess Deadpool and Cable are going to be the two leaders of X-Force. I read that.
Yeah, it's going to be like a Deadpool team movie. I don't know who else is going to be on the team. It's possible that Zazie Beetz as Domino is going to be on the team. I've also heard rumors that maybe Psylocke is going to be on it.
Oh, really?
Maybe we'll see Olivia
I wouldn't
Munn.
be surprised, because it kind of seems like, just, from behind the scenes, like Instagram and social media and stuff, it seems like Ryan Reynolds and Olivia Munn are pals.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
I'd also, if they really want to stack this cast with, a likable cast, add Gambit to the team, too, Maybe start off Channing Tatum's Gambit career with this film. That might be a good idea because
Why
Gambit's
not?
Gambit's he's a badass X-Men character as well. And the X-Force team, they're kind of like the badass, like kind of special ops X-Men team. So
Right.
I think it would fit. I don't know who else would I like to see on the team. Maybe like Archangel as
Really?
well. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool.
From X-Men Apocalypse?
Yeah, because I've always liked Archangel because he's not that powerful, but I think he's like perfectly made for like a special ops team where he could like fly in, fly out, undetected, things like that. You know.
For me, this team needs 3 people: Deadpool, Cable, and X-23.
X-23, yeah. Yeah, she could. Are you thinking Daphne Keane from the Logan
Yes.
movie?
Yep.
Yeah, she's a little young, so she would be like the youngest member of the team.
She'll be a
But
little bit older by the time we see her in this.
Wolverine was a member of the. Well, actually, both Wolverine and X-23 were recent members of X-Force. So yeah, I can see that working as well. She might provide some comic relief playing alongside Deadpool.
I think she like if you want someone like gruff and gritty to sort of contrast Deadpool, the only person that's like almost more gruff and gritty than Cable is X-23. Because of like how brutal and
I'm
sort
just
of like
wondering,
silent
like,
and just
do you want X-23 and Psylocke on the same team?
no, I don't care if Psylocke's in here.
I don't know. I think between Ryan Reynolds, Olivia Munn, Channing Tatum, like just get those 3 people. Those it's like a good looking group of heroes. Kind of. I think it'll be cool. I'd rather have Psylocke on the team, Olivia Munn as Psylocke, than Daphne Keane.
No, Psylocke broke my heart.
I want
She was what I was most looking forward to in X-Men Apocalypse, and that just was a pile.
Well, she didn't have enough.
garbage.
We don't really know how she was a Psylocke because she didn't really have a big enough role. Give her more, and then we'll decide. But I'd rather see Daphne Keane in the New Mutants movie.
I want to see. I want to see X-23 and Deadpool.
All right. Anyway, so Drew Goddard, love the guy. Looking forward to it. I can't wait till they announce like who the characters are going to be outside of Cable and Deadpool.
Yeah.
So
Just you saying that like makes me think like, who do I want in Suicide Squad 2? Because you're definitely not going to have the same
who do I not?
characters there.
I know who I don't want in Suicide Squad 2.
Who?
Who's the fire guy? What's his name? El Diablo.
El Diablo.
Yeah, I don't want him.
Why?
I don't know.
He's dead.
Yeah. I think Deadshot is the must have for Suicide Squad. I don't even care if you have Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad.
I don't think you need her in Suicide Squad. I definitely want to see Katana again. I definitely want to see. I want Captain Boomerang to be done some justice.
Yeah. Yeah. Put him in the second movie. Do him some justice. Have him actually do something this time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think you could introduce like Poison Ivy. You could introduce Catwoman maybe even in Suicide Squad too.
Catwoman. I can see Poison Ivy. I can't see Catwoman.
I can see both, honestly. It's just it could be a way to introduce villains into the cinematic universe, and as long as they're like anti-heroes, I totally see them working within the film.
Oh, I guess Catwoman is the definition of anti-hero. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, Shazam news.
John Cena and Joshua I can't pronounce Sasse? Joshua Sasse? Anyway, they're rumored to be the frontrunners for Shazam.
I laughed my ass off when I read that.
Why?
I don't know why. It's just hilarious to me. Like, I never in a million years would have pictured John Cena as Shazam. And I guess it kind of makes sense because we know that Dwayne Johnson is going to be Black Adam.
Right.
But do you want this to turn into some kind of like WWE production?
That's a good question. I've never been a big like wrestling fan, but I know it has a huge fan base, and I think of these two, I'm not familiar with Joshua Sasse at all. He's been like in the show Gallivant and No Tomorrow. I don't know those shows.
He's a very Henry Cavill type dude.
Yeah, and I'm sure he could bulk up because like in like the photos I've seen of him, he's athletic, but I imagine Shazam to be like huge, just like this really big guy.
Yeah.
And John Cena already fits that bill. I think he's my favorite of the two.
I mean, if you're asking me who I like more than out of these two,
Yeah.
it's got to be John Cena. It's ridiculous saying that, but I think Joshua Sasse looks too similar to Henry Cavill, and while Shazam in the comics does look like Superman in the comics, just
Enough
with
to
the red
get
suit.
sued.
Yeah. I don't want that for the movies. I think they should be differentiated.
Yeah.
And John Cena looks nothing like Henry Cavill, but he has the build. I don't know if he has the acting ability.
I think he has enough of an acting ability to kind of play off like this kind of goofy, childlike kind of hero.
Is Shazam going to be a comedy?
I think it is. I would be surprised if it wasn't. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think, honestly, if you have John Cena and The Rock, like, battling it out, sort of like wrestling style.
Is that what you want from a Shazam movie?
What I want from a Shazam movie is for it to be fun. I think more than a lot of the other, DC heroes. Wonder Woman should be, like, majestic, and Superman should be hopeful, and Batman should be, like, dark. But Shazam should be fun. The idea of just this little kid all of a sudden inhabiting this, like, Superman's body, essentially, and everything that could ensue from that. I'm not surprised they're doing this film next, because it's a great concept, and I've wanted to see a Shazam film for a while.
It's like a fun wish fulfillment concept, but
literally.
It kind of reminds me of, like, I don't want it to turn into like Angels in the Outfield with superheroes.
What?
That's
Angels in the Outfield?
Yeah, like some kid, like, let the Angels win the pennant, and then the next day he's like John Cena. I don't know.
I've kind of like come around on this idea of what the Shazam tone should be ever since, like, they were saying, what is his name? Peter Segal as the director was attached to it. And, he's done films like Get Smart and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. That was way back in the day. And by way back in the day, I mean several years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I John Cena is my choice out of the two, if I had to choose.
Did you ever see Trainwreck?
No.
He's pretty funny in that movie, John Cena.
I mean, I saw him in, what was it? He was in Daddy's Home.
I never saw that.
It was with Mark Wahlberg and
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
I think that was the name of it. I don't know. I mean, I've seen him pop up a few places like that. He seems like, I don't know if he's like The Rock good. He's definitely not like The Rock charismatic. But like even like some like PSAs I've seen him do. I'm confident that he could do a good job.
Yeah, it'll be, honestly, if he gets cast, my interest in this movie will go up 5-fold at least.
Really?
Just because, like, I don't like it, but yet I still find it interesting.
It is interesting. And I think it'll have interesting results.
Yeah. We'll see. Or it could be like, it's interesting because it could end up horribly, or it could end up pretty cool. But I think if you cast John Cena, then you have to put Black Adam as the bad guy in this. I don't want to wait,
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
A couple movies. I don't know. Anyway. Well, who's going to be the bad guy if it's not Black Adam?
What is his name? Dr. Silvus?
Sounds dumb.
I could have totally just made that up. Okay, now Dr. Savannah. I knew right when I said it, I was like, oh no, is that it? I'm scared. Okay, yeah, Dr. Savannah. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the bad guy. He's just, he's like the Lex Luthor for Shazam.
That sounds lame. If you get John Cena, I want to see him body slam somebody.
Well, I mean, if you do Black Adam right away, then, you kind of fall into that Marvel trap where their first, like, origin story villains are always just, like, the dark mirror equivalent.
But that's not necessarily true, because Black Adam has so much depth, about as much depth as Shazam himself. And so you can have them fight, but save him for sequels as well. Or maybe, like, they team up in a sequel or something.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be cool. Make him the Loki, the recurring villain. You could do it, man.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Simon Kinberg has made a few controversial comments, at least to fans, regarding the X-Men Dark Phoenix film. The exact quote was, "We must find a way to ground it so it's not too intergalactic." And he added that the X-Men movies must remain human and emotional, which I agree with the latter part. But here's the thing.
I wanted this to be intergalactic.
Yeah, the X-Men movies, like, since Apocalypse, you could tell that it's gotten really stale. It started getting stale with X-Men 3, but X-Men Apocalypse was a really stale X-Men movie. You need something to kind of shake it up, something exciting, something we haven't, not even close to anything that we've seen before with the franchise.
And I think, Deadpool has gone sort of a way of doing that, and Logan, and, possibly, the New Mutants sort of taking their horror angle. It's like, this is not going to have an angle. I thought it was going to have a space angle, but, based on these comments, it doesn't seem like that's happening.
Exactly. And I've said that this movie should be 90s X-Men in space. And they're not listening to me, dude. I say this every time. 90s X-Men in space. Do it.
I kept hearing that Jessica Chastain was going to be Lilandra.
That's the second part of this story, is that we all thought she was cast to play Lilandra, but on Instagram she said, "Hey folks, want a scoop? I'm not playing Lilandra," which is confusing as hell to me. I don't know who she's gonna play.
Super disappointing.
Like, I thought she was gonna be a member of the Shi'ar, and the whole reason we were thinking Shi'ar was because I think it was some news scoop that was released where it showed some of the dialogue that was being used as auditions, screen test dialogue, and it involved two aliens speaking to each other. So everybody was like, "Oh, this is the Shi'ar. It's Dark Phoenix." You know, the Shi'ar played a role in the Dark Phoenix storyline,
right?
And so that's what this is gonna be. You have a big name like Jessica Chastain. Put two and two together, a lot of people thought she was playing the head of the Shi'ar Empire.
Yeah.
Which is an alien empire in the X-Men comics. So this throws a wrench in everything. Now people are suspecting that she might be playing an adult version of Jean Grey. Like recasting Famke Janssen. So that would be interesting. I think she would make a fantastic Jean Grey, but it's going to be confusing with the whole continuity thing.
I get a weird feeling, and tell me if you feel the same way, that it was originally going to start off as this big, like, epic space thing, but Fox may have been like, no, we're going to decrease the budget on this because films like Deadpool and other X-Men films with the lower budget have been so successful, we want a better return. So they may have had to tweak things around, and it's maybe not as grand in scale as it was envisioned to be. What do you think?
That's a good theory. I wouldn't be surprised if it's true. I don't want it to be true. I want them to take risks. I think what they've done with Deadpool and Logan was that they took a risk.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think
killing off one of like the most famous superheroes ever.
What they didn't do with X-Men Apocalypse is take any risks. It was a very by the numbers superhero movie. And I think with the success of Guardians of the Galaxy and everything like that, I think Fox should be trying to go that route of trying to like provide audiences with different flavors within the franchises.
Yeah. We've said that from the very beginning.
Yes. So, I don't know. Everything confuses me from Simon Kinberg's comments, and he's the writer-director for this. And the whole Jessica Chastain thing, it's just confusing. I don't know what the current state of this film is in terms of plot and character and tone. I don't want it to take place mostly on Earth, but it looks like that's what we might get. We might get another stale X-Men movie. Just comments like that make me think that we're just going to get more of the same, and that's not what I want. So hopefully they announce something to show us that that's not going to be the case.
We'll see. I don't know. All right, so moving on. Wonder Woman recently came out on home video, and one of the deleted scenes.
Whenever you say home video, I think of VHS for some reason.
Oh, I don't want to say DVD, because like I don't buy DVDs.
Well, it's Blu-ray and digital download.
It came out for home consumption. There we go. And it's and I don't want to call it a deleted scene, although I think it should have been played after the credits. It was a scene called Etta's Mission, and essentially it was Samir, Charlie, and Chief, in that bar where they first met Samir and Charlie, and Etta Candy walks in and gives them a mission. They're like this new like sort of covert team, and that mission is to find a mother box apparently, which sets up Justice League. And I'm not sure if like it was filmed after Wonder Woman was released. It kind of seems like, I don't know, just the looks of the characters feel a little bit different. I think it should have been after the credits. I mean, why not? I don't know why Warner Brothers is doing this. It's just so fun.
I love after credit scenes. And okay, so we mentioned earlier that we saw It yesterday.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like after the movie ended, I found myself just staying through the credits, like just wondering maybe there's something
I totally
after the
thought
credits.
they were going to tease something because I read the book too, and there were some like loose ends that I thought that they were going to wrap up before they went into adult chapter 2 mode.
It's just like Marvel has kind of like messed with me in a way that I expected from a lot more movies now. I look forward to that
for like franchise films, right?
Yeah, for franchise
films. You
films.
Expect that.
Yes. So I wish DC would do it. They did it somewhat with Suicide Squad.
Yeah, right? They did it with Suicide Squad. That was a great scene. That was a fantastic scene.
Yeah.
I think they really should have added this to Wonder Woman. Kind of disappointed that they didn't. As far as the scene itself, it was nice to see all those characters together again. Etta Candy, I never found her too annoying. Like, as annoying, I know you did.
Yeah.
like as knowing as you did. And I thought they worked well off of each other. It was kind of funny to see like what kind of name they would come up with. Charlie's Agents and the Wonder Men. I honestly think that because the actor who plays Samir, I forget his name, but he's like gone on social media and said that he was a Black Hawk. Like his character was a Black Hawk, which in DC Comics and in the comics universe is like this like supreme kind of fighter pilot team.
Yeah, during World War II.
Yeah. So I think they end up becoming the Black Hawks. Could be wrong, but apparently his character was supposed to be that. Again, it's great to see these characters again. I wish it was at the end of Wonder Woman, the credits.
Yeah, that's a cool little scene. It seems like the DC's way of doing things is to put these tags, instead of putting them at the end of the credits, is to put them online.
So that you could share them or something, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure if it made the rounds. I didn't really see it on any social media anywhere. It's kind of sad that this is like the last time we'll see these characters together.
That's true. Yeah, because they won't be in any Wonder Woman sequel.
No, yeah.
Assuming a Wonder Woman sequel would take place in the modern
Maybe
day.
Etta Candy, we may see her again. Again, if they do the whole underworld theme where she faces Hades, so you get to see characters like Antaya P and Steve Trevor and stuff like that. Oh gosh, please do that. Etta Candy could be like Hades' secretary. I don't know. Just do it. Just do it.
All right. So we got a first look at Misty Knight with her bionic arm from the second season of Luke Cage.
Yeah, it was a still.
They're filming. It doesn't look like it has any special powers. It looks like a prosthetic.
Yeah.
But it's a fairly advanced prosthetic. It looks pretty cool. It's not like a flesh-colored dummy arm. It has some metallic bits, and it looks kind of cool.
Do you think it makes her arm super strong?
That's a good question.
Maybe her grip, at least.
Yeah, I hope it has superpowers. Like, again, it looks a little bit beyond what a normal prosthetic looks like. So, yeah, I'm hoping that it has super strength, super grip. I don't think it'll be made out of, Antarctic vibranium. So I don't think she'll be able to liquefy metal or shoot blasts out of it or anything.
Antarctic vibranium?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a special vibranium in the Marvel Universe. That's what her arm is made out of in the comics. But at least, yeah, if she's able to, like, rip a dude's throat out, that would be awesome.
She's a cop.
Oh, yeah, she can't do that. She should be able to, like, grab some dude's gun and just, like, bend it in half.
Yeah, totally that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So that looks cool. We also got a first look at Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp. It's the same costume that was at the end credit scene for the Ant-Man movie.
Really? I thought it looked a little different because this one had sleeves. Like the one at the end credits of the Ant-Man movie, like didn't have sleeves.
The one at the end credits of the Ant-Man movie was like disassembled a little bit. It was like in parts.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. The chest piece looks the same. I was hoping it would be yellow, the suit.
Really?
Yeah, like have yellow trim instead of right now it's red, silver, and blue and black. But I've always liked the Wasp with her her black and yellow costume because it felt very waspy,
Yeah.
And but she still looks good alongside Ant-Man's red costume.
I'm looking forward to that movie.
Me too. Yeah.
I can't wait.
Interestingly enough, it looks like she's in a school. This particular shot that they showed her first in the costume, she's standing in a school, and there's like letters on the chalkboard and a projector behind her and everything. So I don't know if she's a teacher now that Cross Technologies is gone, I guess. Or maybe it's not gone because what's his face is playing the head of it now. Walt Goggins. Walt Goggins is the actor's name. He's playing the head of Cross Technologies now. So Cross Technologies is not gone.
I was going to say, I recently learned a little bit more about Ghost, who I think is going to be the main villain of this next film.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. He has like intangibility powers.
Yeah, it's going to be a she in this.
Oh.
Yeah, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost.
Cool.
So it's going to be a female villain. So anyway, interesting school setting. I wonder what that means. All right, moving on.
Alan Richardson and Minka... Ritchson. Gosh dang it. Alan Ritchson and Minka Kelly have been announced as Hawk and Dove for the Titans show. That's going to be on the DC streaming platform app thing next year. So I'm not familiar with Alan Ritchson. I know he was Aquaman in Smallville.
He was also wasn't he Raphael?
Yes, he was in the like the Michael Bay directed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Michael Bay didn't direct those.
Or Michael Bay produced.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. And I didn't watch the full second Ninja Turtles movie, but I liked the first one.
They were both not great.
The first one wasn't bad.
They were both not great.
Okay. I guess he was also like had a bit in the Hunger Games franchise. But again, I'm familiar with him from Smallville. Minka Kelly, on the other hand, she's kind of been in a lot of places over the years.
I thought she was a model.
Really?
She
may have been. Yeah, she's an actress. I know she was in Friday Night Lights, 500 Days of Summer. She was Autumn at the very end of that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen the show, what is it called? Man Seeking Woman?
Nope.
It's on FX. Fantastic show if you haven't seen it. She
Sounds
plays,
like a show I would not watch.
No, you should. It's with Jay Baruchel. It's hilarious. It's one of the funniest shows on television.
Huh.
But she was in an episode of that, and it was one of my favorite episodes. She is incredibly beautiful. Holy cow!
Easy there.
She definitely brings up the hotness factor of the DC actresses. We totally smoke Marvel in that department.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I said it. I said it.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Amber Heard, Margot Robbie, now Minka Kelly. No, I'm sorry.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Gal Gadot.
Scarlett Johansson.
No.
Yeah.
No.
How dare you?
Gal Gadot is like the new Angelina Jolie. I'm pretty sure.
I guess.
Anyway, so I've never been the biggest Hawk and Dove fan. One is super peaceful, and one is super angry all the time.
Dove is always peaceful.
Yeah.
I always thought it was one is a big brute and the other one is an agile speedster.
Yeah, she is. Oh, she has super speed, and she's also super agile. Hawk is super strong. I think they're both fast though. I forget who created them. I don't know. They always came across as just an strange origin story. Maybe we'll include them in one of our battles. If we ever do a team up,
Yeah.
maybe I'll do those guys.
Maybe we do North Star and Aurora versus Hawk and Dove.
I have no idea who those guys are.
They're
but
part
maybe.
of Alpha Flight.
Oh.
They're brother and sister.
Oh. Maybe.
I don't know. Hawk and Dove, I never really liked them because they always kind of seemed too easy to me. In terms of concept, it's oh, let's just get this yin and yang duo.
It's very Golden Age to me.
The original Hawk and Dove wasn't the.
They were brothers.
Dove was a male.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is so weird to me. I'd hate to be the dove. It seems better suited to a female character who can be a little more, I don't know.
Traditionally seen as more compassionate.
I don't know. It just seems better. So
I don't know. Eventually, Hawk becomes extant. Was that his name? Yeah. In the comics, he becomes a bad guy.
Oh yeah.
So I wonder if they'll go that route in the comics. It's just interesting because you have Minka Kelly. She's definitely the oldest casting of this Titans show. She's almost 40. I think she's
Really?
37. Yeah.
What?
So you have that, and then you have Tegan Croft.
Who's
Such
13.
a broad age range in the show. And not that Minka Kelly can't play someone in her 20s, because she totally could.
Yeah.
It's really broad.
Do you think they'll give her white hair?
I hope they do. She'll kind of have a Daenerys kind of vibe. It'd be cool.
I don't get that reference.
Watch Game of Thrones. What the heck is wrong
I don't want to
with
watch
you?
Game of Thrones.
Watch it.
I already know everybody dies.
You have 2 years to catch up. They're not going to film again for a while.
Really?
They have to wait until winter to film again. So.
Oh. Okay. I think that does it for all the news.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's...
So, the big main event of this episode. Are you looking forward to it?
No.
We're gonna review the Inhumans in IMAX. So,
if you haven't seen it, maybe you don't need to see it. Maybe just listen to this.
If you haven't seen it, I'm guessing that maybe you don't want to see it. And if you do want to see it, if you're waiting for it on television, be aware that this is a spoiler review, so some things may be spoiled. It may also give you some insight, if you do choose to listen to it, on whether or not you will want to continue watching
Watching the show.
as it comes out later this month.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we'll see. All right, guys.
Let's get into it.
All right. We are actually doing this.
Why?
We are reviewing the Inhumans in IMAX, and you know what? I'm not excited about this. Actually, my overall opinion of the experience was meh. and maybe a little bit pissed. But the experience itself is rare, and it's worth going and just checking it out just to see what it was like.
I think I would have rather waited to see it on television than actually having paid for it. Which, interestingly enough, like when we went to go see it, because we saw it together in theaters.
Yes.
The projectionist like didn't know what he was doing, so he like just forgot to play the movie. So like we were sitting in the dark for a while.
It was a big, huge IMAX theater. I mean, it wasn't a real IMAX. It was like an IMAX
digital
light.
Yeah.
Yeah, IMAX digital.
There was only 4 people in the entire theater, and 2 of them were us.
Yeah, and the other one was my wife.
Yes.
And the other person was just this random lady that was sitting in the middle. It was kind of creepy, honestly, especially when there were no lights on because the projectionist forgot to start the movie.
Anyway, where I'm going with this was we got free tickets out of this. We got free movie passes. So in a way, I kind of feel like I didn't pay for it, and that makes me kind of happy. Like it makes me, because I have to say this is like the worst cinematic experience I've ever been to.
The worst thing you've ever seen in cinemas?
It was just like a horrible, like IMAX should be like this really grand thing. Like I saw Dunkirk in IMAX recently. I saw it in IMAX, just yesterday. And it was just, it's like this huge grand cinematic experience with great visuals and this, I mean, a great sound. This did not make like the full use of IMAX that it should have. No. This was made for television, and it was just looked really, really bad on screen.
Television is like the opposite of IMAX.
Yeah.
So it was a weird marriage of the two.
I think IMAX was just really interested in getting involved with what Marvel is doing. And
yeah, I'd like to...
I know they fully paid for like the first 2 episodes.
Yes.
Which I'm sure they're regretting that now, because this was just, again, the worst cinematic experience I've ever had.
It's the worst thing that Marvel has done.
Yeah.
It's worse than Iron Fist. It's not good. But before we get into that, though, let me go into I have a brief history with Inhumans. Like, I got into Marvel Comics about 20 years ago. Was that fair? 25 years ago?
Your gosh. Yeah.
How old am I? We'll say 22 and a half years ago.
You don't want to say 25 years ago because you would have been 5 years old, basically.
But I didn't get into the Inhumans until about 10 years after that. Mm-hmm. It took me a while to get into the Inhumans because I knew of them, but my perception of them was always kind of like lame X-Men, kind of. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee's Marvel Knights run came out that I actually got really into them. And I realized they're not the X-Men. Like, they're darker, they're more eccentric. The fact that the characters are more isolated is unique. I thought the stories were more intelligent than the X-Men stories because they had like this cool political angle to them.
Yeah.
And
I definitely feel like that run you're talking about was like a seminal run.
It was, yes.
Because I hear a lot about that run.
Yeah, and I've collected a few of the miniseries after that as well. I like the idea. The Inhumans appeal to me just as much as the X-Men because of their uniqueness. They are actually very unique. They're not like the X-Men, like my initial perception. Their mutation is unnatural, and they're just weird characters, and when I heard that they were making this Inhumans, well, at first they announced an Inhumans movie, and I was like, that's fantastic, do it.
Yeah.
And then they announced that it was going to be a TV show. I was still excited because I was like, oh, well, it's going to go to theaters anyway. It'll be almost like we're getting a movie and we're going to get a kick-ass TV show out of it. And I heard the cast, and I'm like, oh, this is just an amazing cast. So
I remember you saying, like, Serinda Swan was like, it's always been her.
Yeah. I thought it was perfect casting when we talked about that on the show. And suffice to say, I'm very, not just disappointed, I'm almost upset because there was, the ambition was there in the show, but on nearly every level there was poor execution in the making of at least these first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And even then you could even say that the ambition wasn't enough because not only did they not reach what they were shooting for, which in itself would have been decent enough, but their target isn't even half of the potential that an Inhuman series could be, according to the source material.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of people saying, like, Inhumans could have been like Game of Thrones, and I totally agree. Just like the political aspect of it, the fact that it could have been like this really much more grand sort of idea concept process thing.
Yes.
I don't know. That's I totally stumbled on that, but just I guess I was listening to. Are you familiar with Collider Heroes?
No.
They're sort of like us. It's a YouTube news channel for superhero news, specifically for movies. Anyway, there's a commenter on there, and she was basically saying like, if your Inhumans TV show in the first 2 episodes has them leave the moon and cut off Medusa's hair, maybe rethink your whole Inhumans TV show.
Yes, exactly. I would agree with that. Like, I would say, like, well, when I pictured what this show was going to be, what it could have been, like, I imagine, like, a show with, like, the same sci-fi intelligence as, like, the best sci-fi out there, like Arrival with Amy Adams or something.
Yeah.
And with, like, the political intrigue of, like, Game of Thrones.
High level. That's what I was thinking. It should be more high level.
Yes. Like, I imagine, like, the visual style, I imagine something along the lines of, like, Asgard meets Chronicles of Riddick, kind of.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and maybe that's because I always pictured for a long time Vin Diesel in the role as Black Bolt, but I always thought, like, Chronicles of Riddick kind of style art direction would have been cool.
Yeah.
But when we saw that first Entertainment Weekly promotional image, I knew that none of that was going to be the case. And it looked all thrown together, as quickly and cheaply as possible, and that's exactly how this series feels to me, or these first 2 episodes.
I always thought it, like, from that first still, like, it looked like cosplay, and even during the show, like, I thought maybe, maybe it'll look better on screen, in motion, and it didn't.
It didn't.
It didn't look just as bad.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, all right, so the show basically is about, I would say the main character is almost Maximus. He's the brother of King Black Bolt of the Inhumans. He usurps the throne of Adelan, which is the Inhuman base on the moon, and takes it over in a military coup that scatters the royal family across Hawaii. There is a lot of mythology and backstory from the comics and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that is not covered here. My wife was super confused watching this show. She knew nothing about the Inhumans. Uh-huh. She probably knew even less coming out. We never learn who the Inhumans are.
No.
They're just presented as people with powers.
Like where they came from or anything like that. Yeah.
Like, they're just presented as people with powers on the moon. We never hear about the Kree's experiments on ancient humans, and how the Kree created essentially like a different race of people with like superpowered genes activated through what's called teragenesis. Mm-hmm. We never hear how, when, and why some of them moved to the moon, because we know a lot of them are still living on Earth from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they had this thing called the Diviners, which was like an Inhuman art or Kree artifact in which the Terrigen crystals would come out of. There was almost like a whole season dedicated to that. And in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there was this underground Kree temple where a lot of these experiments took place and everything like that.
Well, that's cool.
Never hear about that. In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there was an Inhuman settlement I think it was in the Himalayas. It was somewhere in China in the mountains. But it was called Afterlife, and that's where Quake's mom lived. And there was a whole Inhuman settlement there. We never hear about that. The only reference we get is that some Terrigen has been released into the ocean, which happened in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. Mm-hmm. So random Inhumans are popping up.
In Hawaii. In Hawaii, yeah.
Not just in Hawaii, but across the world.
Yeah.
In the Marvel Universe. So it's so weird. It lacks all kinds of backstory on multiple angles, from the source material to the existing cinematic material, or not cinematic, but television material. That just, I feel like it was necessary. Like, these first 2 episodes, they go in directions that they shouldn't have gone. They did things like cut Medusa's hair, when you could have spent these first 2 episodes really setting up this really rich mythology.
Yeah, for sure.
That is what makes the Inhumans so interesting. We didn't get any of what makes the Inhumans interesting in here. So,
and the exposition that they did give, like, I just think about to like how they displayed each person's powers was so just awkwardly done.
Yeah,
it was really weird.
Well, maybe not Medusa's. She had that cool scene.
She was the only one where like it sort of made sense. But with like Crystal, she's just like, oh, teenager listening to music, she's playing with this rubber ball on her bed, freezing it. And
What's the deal with that
fuck?
rubber ball, and why does she freeze the rubber ball?
Exactly.
It makes no sense. Why would you write that into a script?
Exactly.
It's like, how can we show what some of her powers are? Oh, maybe she's holding this big red rubber ball, and maybe she like freezes part of it.
Listening to pop music.
That makes sense. Brilliant. Write that down.
Who's the writer on this? Scott Buck.
Scott Buck.
Yeah, no, fire that guy. He did Iron Fist.
He did Iron Fist.
No, fire that guy.
He also did the last season of Dexter. I don't know if you saw the last season of Dexter.
No, I heard
it was bad.
That was bad though.
It was really bad.
Dude,
he should never be. He should be banished to some island where they have no cameras or writers or producers.
Jeez, I almost feel bad for the guy. How did he?
Don't feel bad for him.
How is he getting work?
What the heck? I don't know. It really sucks. Thematically, there are no real themes, at least to these first 2 episodes of the show. Maybe jealousy, maybe the burden of ruling, but
sibling
thematically,
rivalry?
It's not deep. It's a very shallow show.
Yes.
So far, like it's all very surface, and the surface is not that appealing either. Let's go into the characters.
Okay. We
have Maximus, played by I always forget how to pronounce his name. Ewan Ryan.
Something like that.
He's by far the best actor. I thought his delivery was believable and for the most part real.
Yes. Yeah.
He's probably the best thing about this entire show. Maybe him and Lockjaw's CGI, I would say, are the 2 highlights of the show.
Yeah. I feel bad for him. I feel because I know he was hesitant to take the role. Or I had read that, and he shouldn't have done it. Again, he is the best part of this, but it's just really poor writing.
Yeah.
I wish the characters were more intelligent because all of them make pretty dumb decisions and mistakes throughout the show. Like with Maximus, when he approached Medusa about like, hey, let's have an affair, or I guess that's what he was going for. It's like, why?
Well, he was talking about like their time as kids and stuff like that.
It was like, and you should be my queen. He's obviously telegraphing that he's gonna stage a coup.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought you were smart.
Yeah. The script did no one any favors.
No.
I have to say though, in that scene where he confronts Medusa, he acts circles around Serinda Swan. Serinda Swan herself not being a bad actress because I've seen her in other things. But it was weird. It was almost like they were in different scenes. He came at it from like a very real perspective, like how you would actually say these words to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And she came from like this like very like angry kind of.
She was attempting to be like have like a righteous anger or something like regality.
But she didn't quite pull it off. And that might be an issue of direction, because I notice like a lot of these good actors in this series have moments like that.
Yeah.
And it might be a lack of good direction.
What was Karnak, the actor who did Karnak?
Ken Lung, I want to say.
I would say he was probably the second best actor on this show.
Yeah, but even some of his lines were so awkward, like when he was talking about how everything's just going to end in a black hole during the Terrigen ceremony.
Yeah.
And the scene where he's talking to the servant about how like
he's just going to notice all of her flaws.
Yeah, we're going to have a doomed relationship.
Yeah.
Like, again, the script did nobody any favors. Fuck you, Scott Buck. That's all I have to say. I am pissed. All right, anyway. And also with Maximus, here's the thing. Full disclaimer. His perspective in the show, I agree with it 100%. Maximus is right. Like, his motivations are sound, like in the so far, at least in these first 2 episodes. Like, and that could obviously change down the road.
We don't know why we don't know Black Bolt's motivation really.
Yeah, I'm still talking about Maximus.
Right.
But like, I mean, I agree with it. But like, if he turns into a fascist dictator, then yeah, I mean, that's on him. I don't agree with him.
I'm saying his whole thing about wanting to move the Inhumans toward Earth, like, we don't know why Black Bolt doesn't want that.
Right. Yeah. But like his coup, like Black Bolt and Medusa, they preside over this fairly fucked up, prejudiced societal system. Like, and yeah, there's a caste system in the comics, but the main thing is, like, in the comics, the ones laboring down in the mines, they're not like thinking people. They're alpha primitives.
Right.
Alpha primitives in Inhuman mythology, they're evolutionary throwbacks. So what happens when Terrigenesis goes wrong and one gets transformed into kind of like a hairless ape with the mental capacity of a 5-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
They're not... In the comics, they were emancipated under Black Bolt's rule, but they continued working underground anyway because they weren't smart enough to know what to do with their leisure time. Like, they don't know... Like, in the comics...
That's interesting.
Yeah, in the comics, Alpha Primitives don't know anything other than the job they're trained to do. Like, and they're not evil, though they can be manipulated into doing evil things by Maximus, who in the comics is a telepath. He's, here he's just a human. So you have this societal system that's presented in the show that's based, like, the haves and the have-nots are basically determined by your genetic structure. Is something you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
It's an evil system.
Just hearing about the comics about, like, things like the Alpha Primitives, it's like, what made them think that was a good idea to get rid of something so interesting like that?
I don't know. And you know what? The Alpha Primitives, they were in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Really?
Yes.
So you have precedence.
Yes.
Damn it.
Yeah. So, yeah, they could have done it. And obviously, like, Maximus, he, being genetically inferior himself, he empathizes with these, like, poor people forced to work in these mines. And, yeah, he sets out to usurp the throne and change the system. Good on you, dude. Way to go. And, like, he doesn't want to just change the system. He wants to go to Earth, which, it doesn't seem bad either, honestly. Like, why are they on the moon? Like, Inhumans and other people with powers, like the Avengers and stuff, they're starting to pop up all over the planet.
And become more accepted.
It's become, like, rare, but unsurprising. Even the surfers who befriended Gorgon, they weren't shocked by him. They're like, you're one of those guys.
I've been hearing about people like you.
Yeah. And, like, on Earth, you have more resources, which Attilan seems to be short on, according to what Maximus said.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. And, of course, this all will change if Maximus, were to try and take over Earth. But if that's his plan, you really need to establish those intentions early on so we know that he's not actually the hero here. Because all I've seen him do so far in these 2 episodes is topple an unjust system that frankly needed to be toppled. It is a major problem with this series. Probably the most major problem.
For sure.
I think also it would be nice if late in the series it turns out that Maximus actually does have powers of telepathy.
I kept waiting for that.
Yeah,
like, for him to realize that he actually does have a power, and whether it was influence or some kind of mental ability, that would have been interesting.
Like, in the comics, he has telepathy, but he uses it so subtly, like, over time, that it's more like expert manipulation. It's an interesting power. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen him use it occasionally to actually affect, like, Terrigenesis and things like that in other Inhumans.
Well, that's interesting.
Before they go into the Terrigenesis, he made this kid become an Alpha Primitive instead of what he was supposed to be. Oh, wow. But yeah, like, what if he's just in the show he's just been hiding them or using them subtly this whole time, like using them to convince the Genetic Council that he's human, so that, like, as a last-ditch effort, he could use them as, like, a wild card.
And we didn't even see the Genetic Council.
No.
Like, they kept referring to them.
Yeah, they made a couple references to them. Apparently, they're plotting to kill Maximus, according to that one guy who made the prophecy kid.
And that was really weird. That kid, specifically, and his relationship with Maximus.
Why was the kid working in the mines if he hadn't undergone the Genetic Council's testing yet to determine that he could perform prophecy?
Right?
Because that's pretty valuable.
Exactly.
It's extremely valuable. I don't know.
And not to go off on their powers yet, but, like, all of their powers were essentially really inconsistent. Like, even with that kid, when Maximus touched him and he would, receive these premonitions, did that apply to anyone who touched him? Because I know Maximus had touched him. Right. Maximus touched him several times, and it's not like he got a premonition every time.
Right.
It's like, what triggered it? It was inconsistent.
Yeah.
But all their powers were inconsistent.
Stupid writer.
Yeah.
Scott Buck.
Fuck you, Scott Buck.
Fuck you, Scott Buck. All right, Black Bolt. Anson Mount, I think, is a decent actor. He was able to convey things pretty well with just his expressions because, he couldn't talk. I think the problem is that the emotions that the script asked him to convey were mostly perplexed and bemused, you know? It's like, this is not the enigmatic, far-sighted Black Bolt from the comics that I know.
No, definitely
He's
not.
supposed to be way cooler than this. Like, what the fuck is this? And I think Anson Mount would be able to play that well. He just wasn't asked to, according to the script and the director. They also changed his powers a bit. Like, his power is not just a sonic scream.
He absorbs electron.
His primary
energy, right?
his primary ability is to absorb electrons. And his body can process them for a variety of effects. One of those being his voice, it's a quasi-sonic voice because it's actually an energy. It's not a force. But he can also use the electrons that he absorbs to increase his strength for like an effect similar to Iron Fist, except when he channels all of his energy into his fist, it's called a Master Blow, not an Iron Fist.
Ew.
Shut up. But he could use the energy to create fields, like an energy shield thing.
Yeah.
And he can like...
And he could fire energy too, like
he could shoot it out like an energy blast, and he could use it to fly.
like lightning. It looks like lightning, right?
Right, exactly. Because his body produces this special particle that interacts with the electrons that produces this other energy.
Yeah,
but that's his power. It's not
just his voice.
Just his voice, and the whole tuning fork thing
Ugh,
that he has on his head.
Tuning fork.
The antenna that's on his head plays a big role in how he uses his powers, because he can shoot blasts out of that too and everything like that. So when you change his costume, you don't even give him a crown with the antenna. You don't give him anything with the antenna. Although he did wear...
He wore a headband.
It was a headband.
It was weird looking. It's like, oh, he's gonna go jog. He's gonna go for a jog right
and
now.
It had it did have like an antenna on it, but it was like really tiny.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this will please the fans.
I can't believe they didn't go the crown route. That would have been so cool looking. It could have looked really cool.
Yeah, well, in the comics, he was running this... this is going to sound stupid, but he was running this nightclub. And he didn't wear his mask at the nightclub. He wore, like, this crown thing. It was like a metal headband with the antenna on it. That looked cool. It looked like a crown. They should have used that here instead of the leather headband that they had.
Yeah.
God, so dumb.
And Lockjaw is supposed to... I mean, they did, like, a fur thing with the fork. But, like, Lockjaw is supposed to be, like... He's Black Bolt's dog. Like, they're the ones who are supposed to have the close relationship. Right?
Right.
Not Lockjaw and Crystal.
Well, no, that's not true. In the comics, Crystal and Lockjaw do have a close relationship.
Oh, really? Closer than Black Bolt and Lockjaw?
No, probably. I don't know. I mean, like, he's loyal to everyone in the royal family.
Okay.
So, I thought the sign language was interesting. I kind of started to recognize some of the symbols, so that was kind of cool.
I thought it was I don't know, a cheat. It was a workaround. They should have... Does he do it? He doesn't do it in the comics, right?
No, but I think... Well, you can't really, because you can't... If you do sign language in comics...
That's true.
It would have to be panel by panel.
Right.
So I think I thought it was a kind of I'm hesitant to use the word brilliant. But I thought it was
No, nothing... That word should not be applied to anything.
I thought it was
in
an
the show.
effective way to have him communicate with the others.
But then again, why didn't he just, like, communicate better? Like, talk with his brother, you know, instead of saying, like, trust me. Like, say, like, give him the reason why.
Yeah, that's true.
And the thing is that Black Bolt's supposed to be mysterious, you know? So there's a reason he doesn't communicate in the comics. Is because he's supposed to be this, like, mysterious badass.
Yeah.
When you teach him sign language, he loses some of that. A lot of that.
A little, yeah, that's valid. That's a valid point.
Because then he can just communicate with anyone. Just make everyone learn your damn sign language.
Yeah, either do that or, have him, like, communicate with Medusa telepathically or something.
Right.
That'd be interesting. Speaking of Medusa, I think looks-wise, I think she looks the part. She very much looks like she came from the pages of the comic. I mean, I think her hair needed to be way bigger than what it was. Like, her hair is, like, supposed to be so big that it would drag on the ground. Right. And sometimes it does in the comics, like a wedding dress train. But, like, that would have probably been too heavy of a wig, so they would have had to have made it, like, float. But they don't have the budget for that. But that would have been a great route to go if it was a movie. That's what they would have done, because... Like, I think that would have been cool because, like, her hair looked better in motion than it did as, a cheap wig.
Yeah.
this is not her best acting work.
No.
Just something off. But again, I blame the script. I don't even think Daniel Day-Lewis and Meryl Streep would have been able to salvage this material. They probably wouldn't have even done it. They'd have been like, oh, what was that, Thunder? It might have been Thunder. They would have been like, fuck you, I'm not doing this. Once reading the script. I do think that her performance got better in the second half. When her hair was cut.
It was definitely like a more like emotive, more emotional acting.
She was less
performance,
like
but
angry, hotty toddy, and more vulnerable.
Yeah, but even then, like she definitely used that. I still don't. It was the writing was just bad.
Yeah.
She was definitely trying her hardest, though, you could tell.
Yeah. What I think they did get somewhat right from the comics was that like they got Medusa's ability to be resourceful, and very capable and independent. Like Medusa has always been the opposite of like a damsel in distress, and her character can really take charge when the occasion arises. And I think they got some of that here when she attacked.
Yeah, because like she speaks for Black Bolt so often. I think that definitely plays in with her character. She's definitely a leader.
Yeah. Karnak, I liked Ken Leung's delivery most of the time. Again, there was those he had some weird awkward dialogue occasionally that just didn't work. But again, I don't see any actor being able to make that work. Like, could you imagine any actor making those lines work?
No.
I can't. Yeah. The portrayal of his powers.
They were confusing. I remember coming out of this and your wife still being confused. She thought like he could like rewind time or something like that.
Time travel powers. And I bet you a lot of people thought that. Knowing his powers, I interpreted the scene as him like the scene where the Inhuman guard come at him with guns and he's like plotting his plan of attack, or he's attacking them. So I interpreted that scene as him deducing the weakness in his plan, because when you first see him attack the guard, you see him get shot and die and fall into the water. And then all of a sudden he's like, that didn't work. And it rewinds and he does it again.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, so he's deducing the weakness in that plan of attack. So he's going to do something different now. Because that's what his powers are. In the comics, he can detect the weakness or flaw in anything. And he strikes it and it shatters.
And not even through Terrigenesis, just through,
right.
Mental training.
Yeah. Although I sort of, like, some artists draw his head so big, I swear people, like, some of the artists are confused as to whether or not he's been through Terrigenesis. Because at some points he looks like the leader. But I digress. Like, in some of the comics that I've read, like, the weak point just shows as, like, glowing red to him. Like, in a game of Star Fox or something. So, it was a strange choice in terms of its portrayal here. It wasn't clear. Like, it probably could have been done better.
Yeah. And it was so inconsistent. Like the biggest power inconsistency in the entire series was when he slipped on the rock.
What the fuck was that?
He should have. It's Karnak. He should be able to see the weakness and where he's the path that he's taking.
If there was one character who would have never made that mistake,
it was Karnak.
It would be Karnak.
I think his character has probably done like the biggest disservice.
Yes. Yeah. And also, I don't think he handled the action that well. Like, maybe they were going for, like, movement that, like, seemed, like, effortless and efficient, but it came across as kind of, like, lazy and unenergetic, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do think his cousin Gorgon, I thought he did pretty good with the action. Eme Ekwakor.
He stomped the ground, and, I mean...
Oh, he fought those mercenary guys on the island.
Yeah. No,
I thought he did.
I didn't like him at all. I thought he came across as really just not like at the head of the royal guard. Like that's what he was supposed to be. Yeah, he goes off and he makes just like really dumb mistakes, like walking. He doesn't see him walking into the ocean. Triton, Triton,
idiot!
I'm a dumbass. Why am I walking into the water?
Oh God, I forgot I can't swim. I'm drowning.
I'm just gonna walk until I drown. Apparently,
and then he gets rescued by the surfers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the actor, I feel like he did the best job of delivering some of the rougher dialogue.
He was a TV actor though.
Yeah.
Like this was a movie. Right. Or at least we watched this in a movie theater. I think if I just saw it on my television, it would have been acceptable, but I didn't.
But like his character's like a charming jokester kind of guy. He can kind of get away with it, with saying things with a twinkle in his eye
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah.
So
But I would not like. But is that?
I'm not gonna say it's a good.
Is that personality? So like, you know, good for someone who's like supposed to be the head of your royal guard, the soldiers.
Well, it kind of matches what's in the comics. He's
Okay.
kind of like he's like the Volstagg of the group.
Okay.
If you get
Yeah.
that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could tell he was wearing high heels.
Yeah.
I could tell it was.
He had trouble walking in them.
It was a little bit rough for him. Because he was kind of like walking kind of tiptoed. In a perfect world, they would have had like CGI'd his legs to give him that like reverse knee, so it would look more like animal legs.
Yeah.
But I think his power wise, his powers were probably portrayed the best when he stomped the ground and created the shockwave. It was a brief moment, but it was true. It wasn't like Karnak's fuckery.
Right.
Or Crystal. I don't honestly like Crystal. It was just man. Like I don't have much to say about Isabel Cornish. Like her performance didn't really register, other than when it was awkward, which was like most of the time.
I just didn't get the character. Like, did she was late to the Terrigenesis, which kind of bothered me to begin with. I was like, "You're the princess. You should like take this shit more seriously." She was just like ran as like this, like the worst that like sort of like teenage kind of
Like a dumb naive kid.
yeah
But she has her own apartment,
yeah
so she's an adult. I don't know. Yeah, it was just awkward. Like it didn't. I don't know. Character wise, like they nerfed her powers hardcore.
yeah
Like Crystal she's supposed to have control of the 4 elements, like earth, fire, air, water, like an avatar from the Last Airbender.
right.
She could have handled Maximus like it was nothing. Like just
Absolutely.
suck all the air from his breathing space or blow him against the wall. Like
Absolutely.
she could have flown away from her living quarters. Like she didn't have to be held captive there.
And again, like what you were saying earlier, is like the reason Maximus was the bad guy was because the show basically told you, oh, this guy's the bad guy.
Yeah.
No other reason. And it's like, why did she dislike him so much? She was like, you disgust me or something like that. And he's like, he doesn't look that disgusting. What's going on? I don't know. Because he was human? That's racist.
Yeah, they're racist. But yeah, she should have been able to take care of him. Like her powers seemed reliant on her hand gestures or something.
Yeah.
According to this, and that was
Like
weird.
her finger pointing.
Yeah, like it's possible maybe she's too young to have fully developed her powers, and that's like a way to like rationalize it, which you shouldn't have to do. Like
Right.
it's like a weird excuse. Oh, it's dependent on her hand gestures. I don't know. Stupid. Her dog Lockjaw. Thought the visual effects were really well done there.
They weren't bad. They were TV effects, Well,
even actually, I thought they were even pretty good for movie. Like,
I mean, just comparing them to like what I've seen like on the Flash. Again, I always bring up like
Flash
King
has
Shark.
great budget for that.
Yeah. I mean, it was comparable.
But I would say the effects in Flash were better than like what we saw in Wonder Woman. When we had like Wonder Woman. So.
Yeah, possibly some scenes. Yeah,
I thought it was pretty good. The dog is cute, but he's so dumb. It's almost like he was working. He's like working into Maximus's plan. Like Maximus could not have planned it better.
Seriously.
To have Lockjaw scatter the family like he did.
Right?
Like I'm sure when he was writing down his plan, he was like, capture the royal family. But then like what turned out was like he was like, scratch that out. What Lockjaw did was even better.
Right? Why? Why did that happen? Because Lockjaw just really, really dumb?
I guess that usually doesn't happen. He's usually pretty ace with his teleportation.
Right.
Fuck you, Scott Buck. Triton, just
barely in the show.
Bad so far, barely in the show. Poor delivery from Mike Moe. Poor character design. Poor makeup work. Even not great action.
No, I feel like they were like really trying to sell the IMAX with that opening scene with the slow-mo raindrops and stuff like that. But like the actress they got with the cat eyes, she was horrible.
Yeah.
I was like, right from that opening scene, I was like, oh, this is a piece of shit.
Yeah, it was just sucky. Like I like Triton as a character, and like a good dual episode down the line might be to like pay him against like Killer Croc or Aqualad or something.
That'd be cool.
But just not well done here.
No, he's supposed to look like sleek and stuff, and the makeup job, like, it was just so unbelievably bad. You could tell he was wearing green makeup.
It was like,
and I don't know if it was the resolution of an IMAX camera that just made it look extra worse.
Yeah,
but it was really bad.
Yeah, I like it more when he looks like more crocodile-like, kind
more amphibian. He should have scales, not fucking green painted skin.
Right. So only other characters. There was Orin, who was the head of the security. Her hearing powers from the comics would have been so much more interesting here, especially because like her whole her whole role in this show was she was tasked to track down the royal family.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense to giving her a healing. Like, why does she have a healing factor? Like, she should have just been a different character.
Why was she bad?
It's like they're pulling an X-Men and just giving the characters whatever powers suit the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, she's not bad in the comics. There's no precedence for making her a bad character. I guess they did need someone on Maximus's side, but I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, she's sort of like, as a tracker, as like a detective, her, like, so, if you're gonna give her fake powers, give her just, like, heightened senses, not healing.
Yeah.
I felt like it was cheap. It was like Medusa, like, killed her, and then, like, Medusa should have known, oh, her powers are to heal.
Yeah, you would think that she would know that. And it also made me mad, like, she started using her wristwatch communicator thing to track. She opened it up like a flip phone device, became like a smartphone where she could track Medusa. That just pissed me off. I'm like, the character, like, she doesn't need that. It's a completely different character. Don't name her that if you're not going to make her that character, I'm not
going to lie. I actually want one of those wristbands that turn into, like, a phone. Just, come on, Apple. Make it happen.
Oh, don't get me started on those wristwatches.
That's so dumb. Why does Black Bolt have a speech communicator? You can't fucking use it.
I have a rant to go on about that later on once we get into the plot. But yeah, those things were stupid. They were like very Deus Ex Machina kind of devices, or maybe not even that, because they were basically convenient when the story needed them to be and inconvenient when the story needed them to be. They were just very MacGuffin-y. The only other Inhuman that I recognized from the show was Aldrich, the teleporting wall.
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, he didn't look like anything like from the comics. In the comics, he kind of reminds me of the Cave of Wonders from Aladdin. He's like he underwent pterogenesis, and he became like this architectural building that with his mouth people could go into his mouth and he could teleport him wherever. So that's how weird pterogenesis is. You can become a building. You can become a dog,
Why do they need him, though, like, story-wise, when they have Lockjaw?
Well, because Lockjaw is not going to help teleport Orin to kill his family.
No, I'm talking about from the comics.
Oh, from the comics? Because sometimes the royal family gets exiled, and the Inhumans still the rest of the Inhumans, not just the royal family, need to find a way to teleport to Earth and other places other than the Adelan.
I do. When Orin was speaking with him and she was trying her hardest to be intimidating, I was like, you are not fucking intimidating. I'm sorry.
I'll kill your family and put them in trash bags or something like that. I was like, okay.
I don't buy
it.
No, not at all. Not for a second.
She wasn't a very good actress either.
No, not at all.
I hated when she like snapped that guy's neck and she's like, "Don't touch me." Or never.
They tried so hard to make her come across as a badass and just completely failed.
Yeah. All right, so that does it for the characters. Let's do a quick story breakdown. So we start off with the opening credits, which I actually liked. I know you didn't like them.
I did not like them.
I liked the graphics.
They seemed very, very simple to me. Like, I could have animated them in After Effects,
Yeah, you probably could have, but
they weren't impressive at all.
think it was a good
mix. I liked the colors. I liked the fact that, they kind of played up the, stylized kind of the characters and stuff, but it was very, like, if it wasn't even good stylization, it was very, like...
I liked the stylization.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I like the music that was going along with it. Actually, between this and the opening shots of Hawaii, I was like, this is going to be good, guys.
What? No. Yeah. Starting with the opening credits, I was like, this is cheaply made. This is garbage. I'm not gonna like this. Yeah.
It reminded me of like how they used to do the openings like with the first Spider-Man movie. How like they would like have this all the credits against this animated sequence kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It got me excited. And then like I think the first shots of Hawaii were very well done with the slow-mo. It was the only thing that seemed IMAX worthy though. Like 10 seconds in, you're already out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of got me hyped up, and because honestly, going into this, despite all the negative things that I felt about it, I was still hopeful.
No, yeah, I know we've been talking, like, leading up to this, like, you know, just talking about Medusa's hair and stuff like that, and the one bad, like, review that came out pretty early, or, like, snippet of a review. I did go into this with
I went into
high hopes. Maybe not high expectations, but high hopes.
Yes, exactly. Low expectations, high hopes. Low expectations,
and
my expectations were not even met. That is surprising.
Yeah,
because I was like, you know what?
It's not. There's
might
no way
not
it could
be good.
Yeah, there's no. I didn't think there was no way it's gonna be as bad as what people are making me believe on the internet. Because the internet is always like just over the top.
Well, no, even then I was like, you know, it might be that bad. Just accept it. Go in with like the lowest expectations possible.
And it went below that.
We have the Hawaii Triton rescue, and that was just a poor action scene.
It was like the editing was weird because like he like jumped off a waterfall, but then like the shot of him actually like landing in the water, it looked like he didn't fall from a waterfall. It looks like he just like dove into the water from the shore. It was really bad.
So like shot number 1 was him at the top of the waterfall. We're like looking up at him. We don't even really see the waterfall. He's just standing with the sky behind him. And then there's a far away shot, a wide shot of like you see him like a CGI version of him standing at the top of a waterfall. Looked like a CGI waterfall too.
Yeah.
And then like we see the little figure like kind of fall down the waterfall. And then the third shot it looks like a dude who jumped off a 2-foot platform into the water.
Yes.
Shoulder first.
Right.
It was ridiculous. And that's when I was like, oh, this is going to be bad.
And it didn't even look like ocean water. It didn't look like the water was near a waterfall, like wrestling. It's just really bad.
Really shallow.
Ugh. I was like, the things that, like, sort of the audacity of the show, the things they think they could get away with just coasting on the Marvel name, really hurts Marvel.
It does.
And it's things like that. It's like, what made you think that was okay? Because it isn't.
Yeah, it's like, respect your audience, respect the source material, you know?
Exactly. Just do that.
Lack of respect across the board here.
For sure. Yeah.
So from there, we go into the Black Bolt Medusa love scene.
Which is an interesting way to start things off.
It was a good way to set up your characters. I thought it was a decent scene. We see them post-coital, you know, do a walk to the window, and we see all of Adelan in its entirety.
Which looks really bad.
I was not impressed.
I was like, oh, this is like, I don't know, like Nintendo 64 graphics. This looks just really angular and just it looked really cheap.
It looked like
really
the facility level on GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Or
it's just like really flat textures.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was bad. It was really bad.
Yeah. We see the Moon Rover bump into their like dome, their invisible dome. And that causes, you know, a meeting between the royal family, where they kind of discuss the ramifications of maybe being caught by the Inhumans, and we learn all of their insecurities.
Caught by the humans.
Caught by the Inhumans, yeah.
The humans. Caught by the humans.
Did I say that wrong again?
Yes.
Caught by the humans, yeah. I'm just brushing you off. From there, we go to the Terrigenesis ceremony. And I want to know what happened, because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., when someone undergoes Terrigenesis, they go into like this chrysalis cocoon stage. And then when they burst from the cocoon, they are whoever they are. If you're human and you get exposed to the Terrigen, you cocoon up, and then when you come out, you're dead. But if you're inhuman, you come out with your powers. And that's what Daisy did. And that was cool. That's not what happened in this scene. They just kind of got put in these phone booths. They dropped the crystals into like these very non-high-tech kind of little slots. Some smoke went up, and then, you know, they had their powers. And that scene,
I like the cocoon idea more because like we like the girl who grew the butterfly wings. We didn't actually see them sprout. All of a sudden, she just had them.
yeah, she just had them. Like we didn't see them come from her back or
No,
You're right.
Because like her back was to the camera, so it was very convenient that framing. I wonder what the people behind her saw.
She didn't react or anything to like growing wings or anything like that.
No,
she was just like, I have wings now.
Yeah.
So they go down to where the mines are, and they're like, "What are your powers?" She's like, "Oh, I can fly." And what are your powers? She's like, "I don't know." And they're like, "To the mines with you." And then Maximus gives his speech about how like it's a fucked up system, which it is, and how it's admittedly unfair that he's not working in the mines because he's the king's brother.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
But even like as speeches go, I think it was meant to be like this really rousing thing, and like it made sense what he was saying, but as good as the actor is, like I wasn't convinced that those words were that like inspiring. I don't know.
I think they would be if you're working in the mines. And mind you, he's really appealing to the low genetic class here. Throughout this whole show, or at least not the whole show, throughout these 2 episodes, we have no idea what those with powers, how they would feel about being ruled by a human.
It's true.
You would think that his rule would not last long. Or why would the guard want to be ruled by a human, the Inhuman guard?
Is it because they wanted to go to Earth?
I don't know, man.
There weren't enough resources?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't get it.
But that topic is raised during the royal family dinner scene, which is where they learned that Triton died. And yeah, it was... Why are they eating at such a small table? That's what I want to know. Like, where was your budget? Where was your table budget? You could have done better than that.
Where's the budget for the whole show?
I like how the projector eye guy, like, they couldn't show what he was projecting because it would have been the footage. Like, part of it was just the footage that they had already shot,
Right.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Cheap.
That was ugly.
Yeah.
I think that was like the biggest Inhuman kind of like how weird can we get with these Inhumans? He was definitely the weirdest next to the wall guy.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know. That was weird.
It's in the scene that we start to see a little bit of dissent among the royal family. Not dissent, disagreement, I guess. Gorgon's mad at Black Bolt because he feels like he should have sent him instead of Triton. Karnak's like, your weakness is that you trust your brother too much, and you need to watch out for Maximus. And Maximus, is no longer at the table because he storms off because Black Bolt can't give a better answer than trust me.
Yeah.
So Gorgon decides he's going to go down and rescue Triton. Lockjaw takes him there.
Yeah,
and Black Bolt decides, I'm going to think about everything that's going on. I'm going to go to my soundproof chamber.
It was really kind of ridiculous. I felt like I really didn't like Black Bolt because he was up, in his royal chamber eating his feast, and the people down below in the mines looked like really run down. And it kind of came across like he was like, "Oh, I don't want to go to Earth. Just trust me. I have a pretty good life up here, and I'm the only one who matters. I don't give a shit about my people,
Yeah.
If they do have resources down there, then do something about it, like your brother wants to.
Right.
I don't know.
That I feel like that's a valid issue. If you look at how that whole thing is kind of treated in the comics, yeah, it's not the best societal system, but you always assume that maybe they don't have enough time to deal with it because they're always, being attacked by Galactus or whatever.
And he sees how the mutants are treated.
He sees how the mutants are treated. Yeah, that's a big factor why he doesn't want to go down there. Also, in the comics, the Inhumans are susceptible to Earth diseases because they haven't been to Earth and they don't have, like vaccinations or anything like that. Like the pollution in the air can kill them.
Right.
So that's one reason why they don't want to go to Earth. But here...
And that makes sense. It's a good scientific reason.
In the show, he just doesn't want to go.
He's like, I don't know. I'm pretty good up here, dude.
You see Inhumans go down to Earth, and they act just fine. Like, in the comics, when Inhumans go down to Earth, they throw up and become deathly ill for a while until they get used to the pollution. So, I don't know. Stupid. Fuck you, Scott Buck. So Black Bolt goes into a soundproof chamber to think about things, to meditate, I guess. Maximus and Medusa have that talk where he acts circles around her. She attacks him. He realizes, the kid has visions, prophecies.
I thought that was poor writing too. Snakes wrapped.
Yeah.
It's like, no, kid. If you would have seen correctly, you would have seen that those weren't.
That's
snakes.
obviously Medusa's hair.
Medusa's right fucking next to you.
Look at the color.
Oh my gosh.
Idiot. This is when Maximus puts his plan into action. Karnak is ambushed.
And I still wish there was.
Gorgon is attacked.
Again, you were mentioning earlier, that you wish there were more backstory to this whole Inhuman mythology. I wish all of a sudden Maximus had this plan, and we don't know. We don't have any context for how he even orchestrated any of this.
Right. Exactly. All of a sudden, he just has people on his side.
Yeah.
People enforcing his new order. They call him King Maximus already, and before we even knew what he was up to.
And we have no understanding of what their incentive is for ruling under a human, or not ruling under a human, but being ruled by a human.
Right. There was an interesting song that was played during the whole Gorgon and Karnak fight. It was a cover of The Doors' "Break On Through." I thought that was kind of cool. Interesting cover, at least. Not an important note, but I just wrote it down because I thought it was cool. So Karnak goes up and he warns Crystal, and Karnak ends up getting teleported down to Earth.
Because Crystal is really dumb.
Crystal's really dumb.
What was she doing?
I don't know what the fuck she was doing.
She knows better than everyone, apparently.
Yeah, her plan was, I guess, to save everybody, but they could have done that together,
Or at least teleport everyone together in this. Not even necessarily in Hawaii. I mean, just freaking go to Black Bolt.
Yeah.
He could wipe everything out. He could solve. With one word, he could solve this entire problem.
Don't teleport to Hawaii. Why would you teleport to Hawaii? Teleport to another corner
of the moon of Adelan.
Of Adelan, yeah.
It's Adelan, right? It's
yes.
not Attilan.
It's Adelan.
Adelan.
Yeah. So after that, Medusa is attacked, and you have the haircut scene. I did think the Medusa fight, it was a little overacted on behalf of the people who were getting attacked. But I thought the visual effects held up here.
Yeah.
For the 20 seconds that the fight lasted. And they did have a cool song during this part too. It was a cover of Painted Black.
Yeah.
And I saw from the haircut scene, I saw from promotional images that was going to happen. My assumption was that, this is going to be one of the last episodes, I saw a lot of people online saying cynically that this was just a way to save money to cut her hair, so you don't have to animate it. And I was like, no, it happened in the comics. Maximus cut her hair in Jenkins' run, and the show's, referencing that, paying homage to that. But the fact that it happened in the first episode, I think she had maybe 5 scenes before that, before they depower her.
Right.
So it's we don't even get to know who she is with her hair, much less, they're let's find out who she is without her hair. I'm we don't even know we don't know who she is with her hair.
I do think it was a budgetary thing too.
Now I think it was the inclusion of the haircut was mostly an excuse to save money because now they could go a majority of the show without having to animate her hair.
I couldn't believe how frail and I guess older she looked without her hair.
Yeah.
I mean, she was during those scenes pretty emotional, but she looked pretty different.
Yeah. This may be a spoiler alert for Jenkins' story in the comics, but an interesting note is that Medusa's hair is actually too strong to be cut. It can only be cut if she wants it to be in the comics.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. I find it really awkward. I don't know where they got the Walmart purchase the trimmers.
Yeah.
I was that's you don't have a fancy Inhuman hair cutting mechanism. You have to use generic hair trimmers.
And actually, my wife was like, "Why doesn't her hair fight back from being cut?" And I'm like, "Well, they had 2 guns pointed at her as it was being cut, so it was either die or get your hair cut."
I think Medusa would have fought. Would have died fighting. I don't think she would have submitted to that.
I think she would rather get her hair cut than die.
She seemed.
Her hair grows back quick. Her hair grows back fast. Probably not fast enough for the series.
Probably not.
But it's a replaceable body part,
Yeah.
I wouldn't die for that. But so at the end of that first part, we see Maximus confront Black Bolt in his like meditation chamber, and we get the flashback to his parents' death, which is different than how they died in the comics. I think in this show it was a little bit more horrifying because like he's talking to his parents, he was like, "Why?" and they just explode all over the walls. It wasn't like like that graphic, but it was.
They were gone. They had disintegrated for sure.
Well, you see like the dust remnants on the walls and everything of their bodies.
Yeah, I just think again that was like sort of poor writing. Like this Scott Buck does not know how to write like teenagers. The first thing he says is why? Like he's arguing with his parents already. Like that's the first thing he says after Terrigenesis. It's like they weren't there during the ceremony. Be like, oh, what do you have now?
I assume that this doesn't take place immediately after Terrigenesis. Like Maximus said, sometimes Terrigenesis takes a while to kick in.
That's true.
But in the comics, Black Bolt was exposed to the Terrigen mists in the womb. So when he came out, his first cry as a baby like was already shattering things.
No way.
So they from birth to 18, he was isolated as a person, so he could learn how to train his powers. So.
That's so much more fascinating.
Isn't it?
My gosh, that is fascinating.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. What the fuck?
I mean, we do have some of that here. We have the scene where he's like isolated in that chamber, and Medusa, worst kid actress in the world, comes in and says, "I'm Medusa. How are you today?" That probably wasn't the exact line, but that's what it felt like.
But like, still, why you have such great source material, fascinating source material. Why not use that? Because you're Scott Buck. Because you suck.
Because you're Scott Buck.
Okay, that makes sense now.
You suck, Scott Buck.
It's because you suck.
So that's the end of part 1. Part 2 of the series, they're all stranded on Oahu. I have to say, Hawaii seems like if you're gonna get like teleported anywhere, get teleported to Hawaii. Be stranded in Hawaii.
I couldn't tell where the first episode ended and the second one began.
The first episode ended when Black Bolt was carried away by Lockjaw and then brought to the street. That's where it ends. And he's like looking around all nervous.
Yeah.
That's where it ends.
Okay.
And the second one starts off with Medusa in the crater. She's looking around and she's wondering what's going on. So Black Bolt's in Honolulu in the middle of the city. Medusa's in a crater. Karnak's on top of a mountain, and Gorgon's on the beach. Lockjaw's incapacitated in that meditation room.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where
Crystal's basically imprisoned.
Maximus asks for her loyalty, and then she's like, no.
She's under house arrest.
Yeah. In Oahu, Medusa calls Black Bolt on her wrist communicator. And I don't know why he doesn't just flip open his wristwatch and go to the touchscreen and type a text back or something. It's like the worst device to have for a guy who can't speak.
Exactly.
You'd think there would be some kind of text function to it.
Exactly.
So she's calling him. She finds the bus to try to get back. Black Bolt is hiding from the police because he caused some car crashes appearing in the middle of the street. Karnak's falling down mountains because he's a fucking idiot. If I were him, if I wrote the script, he should have got up and been like, "You failed me, brain," or you had one job, superpowers, one job, find weaknesses and things. Gorgon's a bigger idiot because he almost drowns by walking into the water. Apparently, he can't swim.
That was so dumb. When I watched it, I was like, what is happening?
This is the part of the show where I felt like I was getting dumber just watching it. Especially with the whole... Okay, let's get into the communicators thing. Because Crystal... So back on Adeline, she's being held prisoner in her apartment. Orin brings her food and accidentally drops her wrist communicator. So Crystal sees it. She's like, oh, grabs it, calls Medusa. Okay, here's the first problem that I have. Why did they need Crystal? And it turns out to be a trick. Medusa tells Crystal that Orin's too smart to just, leave a communicator around.
Right.
And that they're probably using it to track Medusa. Why do they need Crystal to call Medusa? They have the communicator.
Because Medusa would have hung up on Orin.
It doesn't matter. You can't tell who's calling. It's not like these communicators have caller ID. They could have just called Medusa themselves and then found out where she was. That's what Gorgon ends up doing. Like, he ends up calling Maximus directly. It's like, I'm here, come get me.
Right.
Like, come fight me or whatever.
Or maybe you have to be on for like 2 minutes or something like that.
I don't know.
It's like 5 more seconds. Just keep her online for 5 more seconds.
That might be a good way to explain it. But here, like, Medusa, because she was like, oh, they might be tracing this call, she smashes the watch. And yet they're still able to track its location. She could have taken it off and left it.
Because she was in transit. It's not like she smashed it when she arrived at that stop.
Right. Like, if she really cut the signal there, they would have been like, they would have tracked it to the last place that where the signal cut out.
Right.
It didn't cut out the signal, her smashing it. And Medusa hangs around where she smashed the watch. It's like she could have smashed it and then went far away from the watch. You know?
Right.
That's what she should have done to avoid being, tracked. But she stays where she smashed the watch. I'm okay with her smashing the watch and leaving. I'm okay with her not smashing the watch. But if you smash the watch, why are you still there? There's no point. Either you don't smash the watch. I don't know.
Dumb.
And then, so she's attacked by Orin. Or she actually attacks Orin. She takes on the offensive and they fight. She ends up like prison shanking Orin several times.
That's exactly what it was.
It was pretty brutal. Like 3
shank.
times she's like dish, dish, dish. Kills Orin. And then she grabs Orin's watch communicator to call Black Bolt to let her know, like, we're gonna do this. We could get through this. Just a word of encouragement or whatever.
This is
I'm
why
gonna
he's
find
in prison.
Yeah.
Or at the police station, at least.
Yes. And then, like, she leaves the watch communicator. She tosses it in the back of the truck with Orin. And she leaves and she walks away. She could use that she should be able to use that to track Black Bolt. As a matter of fact, all the Inhuman family should be able to use their communicators like Orin was using it to track each other. All you have to do is just call them and you get their signal and you find out where the signal is.
It's true.
There's so many things wrong with these watch communicators. I don't even know where,
She's looking for Black Bolt. She called him. And then yeah, you're right. That bothers the heck out of me now.
Even if it was if the whole tracking thing was only a function unique to Orin's communicator,
she still had Orin's
Orin's communicator. and you don't throw it with the body. Like you would think like, oh, I should take this not only to use as a communicator because I smashed my other one, but
she has healing powers.
Orin has healing powers. And if she gets up from this, she's going to be able to communicate. Like, at least take that. If she wakes up, she has no means of communication, and she'll be stuck on the island just like the rest of them. So many things wrong with it. It's so stupid. Idiots!
Fuck you, Scott Buck!
Gorgon, yeah, I said he calls Maximus. That's when Maximus sends Orin to Oahu, when Maximus calls him.
Mm-hmm.
And those local surfer dudes are just ridiculous.
Really, just they found some actual local dudes on the beach and were like, hey, you want to be in this movie because we have no money.
No, they're real actors, but
we'll buy you some lunch for food.
Just the way they act,
for payment.
They're like, why don't you just have the fight come to you? And Gorgon's like, okay. And they're like, you surfer dudes better get out of here. There's about to be some people come who are gonna fight me. And they're like, who doesn't like a little fight or something like that? It's like,
Inhumans?
Yeah, you guys are gonna get fucking slaughtered, idiots. God. Karnak, he's walking in circles. Black Bolt gets arrested. It's ironic that he went to the suit store to change his clothes to avoid the police, and yet getting the new clothes directly leads to his arrest. Like, if he would have just stayed in the same clothes, it probably would have been fine.
You think he would have been smarter than that?
Yeah. It's weird because he can understand English,
Right.
And you would think that he'd be smart enough to know that.
They're actually pretty good at English, like, enough so that Gorgon knows the word dumbass.
Yeah.
And he's saying, like, never come upwind or downwind. Dumbass.
Upwind.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they're really caught up on current lingo.
She's, like, yelling at him. She's like, you have to pay for that. And he's just, like, brushing her off like he doesn't understand or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. He gets beaten pretty savagely. But we also...
I was glad that he didn't, like... do that utterance because of a beating, but it was who's been electrocuted.
Yes, that's a good point. From the trailer, it looks like he blasted that police car with his voice because he got hit with a stick. And I said during our review of that trailer, I was like, that Black Bolt's too good for that. He wouldn't let that happen, and he didn't. That was really good. despite how badly they were beating him with sticks, he still never uttered any moan or anything like that. It wasn't until they tased him that's when that happened. That makes sense to me. That was good.
You should have been like, "Don't tase me, bro."
Just destroy all of Honolulu. Back on Adelan, Maximus goes to that kid and gets another vision. Apparently, the genetic council doesn't like that he usurped the throne and are planning to kill him.
Do you think he would have usurped the genetic council or just like assassinated all of them as well?
I think that's going to happen in the next episode.
I don't understand why he didn't do it right away during his coup.
You think that he would? He does give a speech a little later, basically. It's a generic speech.
Accept him as the king.
Yeah, accept him as the king. And that's basically where the show ends. Because as he's given the speech, we see Black Bolt in prison. Black Bolt was arrested. When he was getting arrested, when they were like booking him, I hated that line where that cop was like, "Damn it, are you just not speaking because you're a smartass, or are you one of those guys who was just waiting for their lawyer?" I don't know what it was about that line. It was just the worst line delivery in the history of line deliveries. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's an after credits scene where we see Oren heal. She gets up out of the truck and heals her wound, grabs her communicator that was conveniently placed there, and then calls Maximus as like, "I need backup" or whatever. There was also like this season on Inhumans kind of like sequence.
Yeah.
There was a kind of a cool line at the end of that where Medusa is speaking through a communicator to Maximus and says, Black Bolt says he would like to have a few words with you.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. That was kind of a cool line.
Yeah. I could see it being used in the comic.
Yeah, it would be in the comics for sure. So that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing. That's the whole piece of shit show. Overall thoughts. Didn't like it. Mad. I really wish we would have got something that would have been on the same level of, these other Marvel properties. This is by far the worst thing that Marvel has ever put out.
And I've said before, shows like the Netflix shows, especially shows like Daredevil, make me wish that most, or I think I said all movies were long.
All superhero
movies
were
long form content television.
Yeah.
This proves me wrong. This makes me long for what could have been with like Vin Diesel as Black Bolt. It makes me sad. I'm sad. It saddens me.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the show can do to improve. There's always the 1 in a million possibility that this actually ends up being a good show during the course of its 8-episode run, but I would be willing to bet money that the rest is going to follow suit.
I wonder if like the few remaining like Marvel fans who are loyal to Marvel no matter what can keep this show alive. Just them. I'm mixed.
Like, part of me wants this show to fail, to teach Marvel a lesson that
you can't just coast by on your name.
Yeah,
it really to teach Ike Perlmutter that.
Yeah, another part of me wants it to succeed so that maybe they could redeem themselves in a season 2.
No, I don't want a season 2. I
don't want Inhumans to go away. I like the Inhumans. I don't think they can reboot, or I don't know if they would reboot. So I'm stuck. Either this is the only Inhumans piece of live action media we're gonna get in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's gonna be this suck ass shit, or they're allowed to make it better.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't continue the show, I guess the best you could hope for is that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. really isn't part of the cinematic universe, and Kevin Feige finds a way to do the Inhumans movie down the road. Maybe
a good compromise would be, since Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually really good right now, maybe you bring the Inhumans
onto that show.
Since that's long overdue anyway. They've been dealing with Inhuman stuff for a long time now. But Inhumans is a good show. They have better showrunners. Scott Buck's not involved. You could actually do interesting things with these characters in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
That's probably best case scenario. Second best case scenario, never going to happen, is that they take these characters, maybe some of the actors, actually put some money behind it, make a feature-length film down the run in like 10 years. kind of like a soft reboot kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. That never happened.
Yeah. So 1.5 stars. This is the lowest rating we've given to any piece of media during the duration of this podcast.
Yeah.
It's probably a good thing because so far this year has been made up of nothing but 4-star content. It's been a good year for superhero shows and superhero movies.
I still like to think that this is still a good year for superhero movies because I don't really count this. I mean, it was in theaters again, but it's television. It's shitty television, so it shouldn't count.
Even superhero shows have been good these past seasons for the most part.
Yeah,
like this is the lowest thing that we've done. But at least now you get that contrast. At least listeners know now that we don't give everything 4 stars.
Right.
We are credible, somewhat. And
we're not just biased.
We're not biased. We're not fanboy enough. We know well enough when something's not of quality.
Right.
So.
Right.
We almost went the entire episode without that happening. Jesus. All right, mute. All right. Okay, that does it for the review. Go ahead and let us know. I think we've already heard from some people who actually enjoyed the show.
I don't understand those people at all.
I don't really understand either.
I think you really have to be reaching to say that you like anything about this show.
Yeah,
even as a fan of the comics.
Yes, as a fan of the comics, you should be livid. Really. There was somebody who reached out to me on Instagram and said that, give it time. A lot of people hated Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when it first came out, but like how good that show is now. And I'm like, I've seen the first episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've watched that show through its entirety, and the first episodes were not as good as they are compared to now. But they were not nearly as bad as what we've seen here with the Inhumans. So my optimism, my thought is that the show really isn't going to get that much better.
Your hopes for the show are just not as...
Right. I'm still going to watch it. I'm going to still watch every episode.
I feel bad for you.
Yeah. But, I mean, if this is my only opportunity to see Inhumans live action, then that's what I got to do. Pain is a part of life,
I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's like Batman is on TV right now, and I'm not watching
Gotham?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of out of universe too, though.
I still think the
Gotham?
TV shows are out of the as much as that they want to be a part of the MCU. They're really just like writing their.
You keep thinking that.
I'm telling you, it's true.
No, it's not true.
Because Ike Perlmutter is in charge of the TV shows.
It doesn't matter.
He hates Ike Perlmutter.
It's the same continuity. All the Marvel television shows take place in the same continuity as the.
Oh, really? Universe. Even the Inhumans, when
yes.
They went to their chrysalises and emerged.
Yeah, inconsistencies in Terrigenesis portrayal notwithstanding.
Okay.
Because they made that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reference in the Inhuman show. It's part of the same universe.
Okay.
That does it for this review. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for those of you who liked it, but you should hold yourself to higher standards. And
expect higher better things.
Yeah. Yeah. I will admit there is a novelty to seeing the characters. It's one of the best parts of the show is the novelty of seeing these characters in live action. And it's not something that you've ever witnessed before, so there's something that makes me personally want to feel defensive for this show and want it to continue and want to defend it. But I can't do that and also remain a credible reviewer.
I remember you tried when we got out of the theater, like, I know you wanted to like it a lot, but really just upon talking about it, it was really hard to defend. You can't really defend anything on the show.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's all pretty bad.
Yeah.
Except for like, what's his name? Yuan Rowan, his acting. I mean,
yeah.
Maximus. Yeah, Maximus' acting. I mean, that's it. That's the only thing that I think was semi good in any way. Yeah. Everything else was just really just too dumb. Poor execution again, as you mentioned, on all levels.
Yeah. If you have any ideas on how you think they might be able to improve the show, write into us, dynamicdualpodcast@gmail.com. We might read some of those letters on our next episode. What will be our next episode?
Just sort of riding the Inhumans wave. We're going to have a battle episode.
A duel episode?
with Black Adam versus Black Bolt.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really good fight.
It was really hard to come up with someone to go against Black Bolt because Black Bolt is just his power levels are insane.
Yeah.
But I think if anyone could hold his own against Black Bolt, it's probably Black Adam.
Yeah, he's a Superman equivalent almost.
Practically,
so it'll be a good matchup. And they both have kind of like lightning powers.
These black lightning motifs.
Yeah, black lightning motifs. So it'll be fun. Really looking forward to giving listeners like the full backstory of Black Bolt.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so much more interesting than what's portrayed in the show.
If you're interested, even if you didn't see the show, if your interest is piqued at all by the Inhumans, because I know mine is.
Yeah.
I didn't know as much. I definitely learned some things about Inhumans during our review. Definitely check out our next episode and just subscribe to us. Because we're a bi-weekly podcast where we do this every 2 weeks, and it's practically an eternity.
It is. Oh God, it's so long between episodes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but we just can't do it weekly because our wives will kill us.
It's true.
Yeah. So in addition to subscribing, if you could please, if you enjoy the show and you know anybody else who might enjoy the show, please show this to them or. Share this with them. You can't really show audio. At the very least, steal their phone, subscribe to it, and then give the phone back to them. Just that's a nice little game. Like, see how many phones you can subscribe, secretly subscribe to our podcast on, and we'll just go from there. And they'll get a notification on their screen like, oh, what's this? Dynamic duel. That sounds interesting. And then they click on it, and they're like, oh wow, this is amazing. This is life-changing. So
we've been getting a lot of good reviews on iTunes recently. I don't know if it's because we mentioned it during our last episode, and they're all 5 stars, so that's encouraging.
We've taken a small dip in listenership over the past month, and I don't know if that's because a lot of people didn't watch Defenders.
I think that's again the barrier there was a barrier to entry.
Yeah.
For that show, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. A lot of people felt like they had to watch the previous shows to watch Defenders.
Yeah.
Okay, the hint for this episode's trivia question is, so the question again was, one of the cast of the Inhuman royal family has also played a live-action DC superhero. Name the actor and their role. The hint is, the show that they were in was Smallville.
This is a layup, people. You got this.
It's a fairly easy one if you know what to Google, or you might already know it. So that's this episode. It's going to be another eternity for the next until the next episode. But I'm really looking forward to that one.
I'm going to be thinking about it for the next 2 weeks, just constantly.
Yeah. Do you have the cover art ready?
I think I do.
There are so many cool images of Black Bolt out there. He has a really cool look, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks.
Up and away.
True believers.